At this point, you already have everything for the, let's say, the backend, the kernel of our applications, the base, which is Laravel and Jetstream. You're going to see how powerful Jetstream is if you already don't know it, but that is going to be in a different section. For now, we're still preparing our, let's say, infrastructure, or basically the structure of our data and our backend. And for that, well, we are going to create during this class the migrations, which are going to allow you to create a set of tables to store the different information for your portfolio. In this case, we're going to have the tables and essentially everything related with that. For it means the models, the controllers, factories, and so on. All of them are going to be used and implemented class by class to create, update, show, delete skills in your project and projects in your portfolio. So essentially and normally, you will have a set of skills that you want to show all the what you know, and a set of projects that you have been working on or you already worked on. So yeah, that's exactly that we are going to store in our backend, basically in our database structure. So for that, we need to go to our project, and once again, we need to open the command prompt in the location of our structure of our project. Here it is. So there, we're going to execute PHP artisan make model, and we are going to have our first model for the skill. So this is going to be called skilled on singular. For that, we are going to create the migrations, the factories, and additionally the controller. No worries, we are not going to implement yet the controller nor the factory. The factory is going to be in the following class, but we are going to implement the migration and of course the components of our model. So let's press enter, and this is going to create, as I said, the migration, the factory, and the controller. And essentially we are going to do basically the same for project. So we have here project, and once we press enter, we have all what we need. So if we go to our project, the actual project, the structure of this, you can see how in the database we already have the migrations. Once that comes already with Laravel, we are going to take a little of time with those later, and two new ones which are for skills and for projects. Both of them are exactly here, and essentially we're going to have the sending app models for the skill and the project model, and once again by default Laravel comes with a user model. So here we have everything for that, and additionally in the HTTP controllers we have the project controller and the skill controller. But no worries, once again, we are not going to take care of them yet. We are going to implement the controllers later. We are going to take care here of the project and the skilled models, and essentially the same for the migrations. Finally, we have the factories, project factory and skill factory, and additionally, once again, by default, the user factory. So yeah, in the following class, we are going to take care of those, but during this class, we are going to implement the migrations and the models itself. Now, before to create a database structure and start anything, we need to prepare our environment for that. We need to configure a database connection. So you can use MySQL, you can use Postgres, you can use SQL Server, or we can keep it simple and use SQLite. This is pretty powerful and flexible for our local environment. But of course, once again, it's your environment and you can use whatever that you prefer with a corresponding configuration. In the case of SQLite, we need to comment those lines. So this is going to use the default location and the default configuration, which is basically that we will have a file storing the structure of our data and our database strictly directly in the database folder into a file called database.sqlite. So that means that we need to create an empty file with that name, database.sqlite. So this is going to store our database structure there. This is empty for now, but you are going to see how at the end of the class, this is going to get some structures inside. Of course, this is going to be a binary file, but essentially this is going to change and going to be managed automatically by the SQLite and of course Laravel. So going back to the migrations, we have the skills migration. And well, what is going to have our skills? Of course, it is your project, could be anything, but essentially we are going to keep it simple. We are going to have a name for the skill, let's say HTML, Laravel, Eloquent, Vue.js, Tailwind, whatever that you prefer. And of course, we are going to show that skill with a specific color. We are going to use a background color. So we are going to have two different attributes here, the name and the color. So using table, we are going to have a string which is going to be the name. And the same we are going to have for the color. So essentially here we have a string called color. Now, in the case of name, as the skills are unique, we are going to be sure that we are not going to allow a repeated name for our skills. So we are going to use unique here, a restriction inside the database structure. Now, once we have this, we can use basically the same in the case of project. So in the project, we are going to have a little more of things. A project is going to have a title, is going to have a description, an icon, and again, a color. So we are going to use some of those. Instead of a name, we're going to have a title. And once again, this is going to be unique. Similarly, we're going to have a description, but this time we're not going to use the unique restriction here. Essentially, two different projects Word probably don't have a repeated description, but we are going to get that possibility open. If you don't want that, again, you can just use the unique modifier here, and this is going to take care of that for you. Then we are going to have the color exactly as here, and finally, we're going to have something which is the icon name. The name of the icon that we are going to use. We are going to have a predefined set of icons that we can use. In fact, we are going to do that the same for the colors, and the user, or essentially you, can select the set of icons or colors to use and assign that to your different skills or projects in this case. So once we have this, we can go to our models and essentially specify that as well. We will need to bring a title, a description, a color, and an icon name for the project, and similarly for the skill. So let's go there. Let's start with project, and there we are going to have our fillable attributes for project. So we need to use a protected property of the model. This is of course from Laravel, called fillable, and fillable essentially means the components, or basically the attributes that we are going to allow to be massively assigned, essentially from a create, from a save, essentially making our life easier, but making sure that if we receive something different from those attributes, this is going to be ignored, and we are not going to change our database structure and make it in risk. So there we are going to have title, description, color, and icon name inside this fillable property. That's everything that we need in the case of project, and we are going to have something pretty similar in the case of skill. So let's paste it here, but this time we are going to have only name and color. That's all. So at this point, we have configured our models, or basically implemented the set of information that we will bring from them, and the base of our models, which are the tables. Pretty consistent, we have the projects table created in our migrations, and the same in the case of skills, both of them with the corresponding attributes, the foreign keys, the primary keys, and of course the timestamps, the creation, add, and the updated add. So if everything is okay, we should be able to go to our command prompt and execute php artisan migrate, and we are going to use fresh that in the case that me or maybe you got an error, we can start the creation of the database from scratch after fixing something. So let's press enter, and everything is okay. As you can see here, we already created and inserted basically the table, the structure of the tables for the users, the password reset, the failed jobs. All of those comes directly with Laravel, and our ones, the skills and the projects. And you can see that directly in the database.sqlite file. Again, this is a binary file, but you can see how automatically the changes were there. You can use, if you prefer, your desired database manager, you can use and verify the structure of the table that you have there. But don't worry, we are going to take care of that in the following class, because we are going to insert information, actual information, or basically some fake information, in fact, into those tables to verify everything is working and get some dummy data to work and show in our portfolio. So see you there.